The exhibit camera on the banks looks at the photographs Wallace took in two general ways. One way is that of fishing, how you get a fish out of the water, into the dory, onto the deck, into the hold, ready to go to market. That's one set of photographs. The other set of photographs deal with the actual handling of the schooners, that is, how you sail a schooner. And in this instance, speed is of the essence, and they're built into most of the photographs Wallace took of vessels under sail. Speed was of the essence because this is a fresh fish industry. One had to race to get the bait. One had to race to the banks before the ice melted. Once you had the fish, one had to race back in to Boston, Portland, Yarmouth, wherever, to sell the fish while they're still fresh and could still gain a good price. And so the photographs that Wallace takes demonstrate that kind of activity and that speed that was important. The way I want to look at this for the purpose of this video is to look at a particular voyage, one voyage in particular, perhaps the most famous voyage that Wallace took. And it was one he took aboard the F.E.M. Morrisay in December of 1912. And here we have an image of the Morrisay. It's the oldest of the four vessels that Wallace sailed on. It was built in 1894 in Essex, Massachusetts. And it's a clipper-bowed vessel. These terms, I don't have to be an expert in schooners, but this older vessel had particular properties. One, it had a straight keel. Now, what that means is that the keel of the vessel was absolutely straight. And that meant that if it had to tack into the wind, it had to tack like this in the water. And it was very slow in order to do that because of the straight keel and the resistance of the water. The later vessels that Wallace sailed on had rockered keels. The keels were more like this, and the vessel pivoted. So here we have an old-fashioned vessel that was slow into the wind. On the other hand, with the wind off its stern quarters, it was very fast because it had an enormous amount of sail. And if we look at this old vessel, we can see it has a long mainsail, a foresail, a jumbo, and a jib. 4 sails. And this is a picture of the F.E.M. Morrisay in Portland Harbor, December 1910, as it was when Wallace joined it. Joins Captain Harry Ross for a voyage from Portland to pick up, in the first instance, bait at Yarmouth. And so they will sail from Portland to Yarmouth in a record time. At least Wallace claimed it was a record time. When Wallace joined the F.E.M. Morrisay in Portland Harbor in December with Captain Harry Ross, their first job was to round up the crew. They had been in port for a couple of days, and Ross essentially had lost track of them in the various rum joints. He had to pull them with Wallace's help out of the rum joints, get them back on board. And here you have them trying to raise the mainsail in order to leave Portland Harbor. Some of them are still in shore clothes. You can see some are still in bowler hats and good suits, and others have shifted into their work clothes. They were all, however, drunk, and they made a mess of getting the mainsail up. The people on the shore were laughing at them. Captain Harry Ross was very angry about this. And so as soon as they got beyond Cape Elizabeth and out into the open water, Harry Ross decided, in some ways almost as punishment for the crew, to make the vessel go as fast as it could. Now, in this instance, he had the assistance of the wind, because it was coming out of the southeast. The wind was coming off the stern quarter. It was the sea was rising quickly from the southeast. The wind was coming heavy from the southeast. Water was actually coming up over the stern and washing around the feet of the man at the wheel. And that wind filled all 4 sails of the F.E.M. Morrisay, which Harry Ross eased out over the port side. And here you can see the foresail eased out over the port side to gain the full effect of the wind coming out of the southeast. And so the 4 sails were all out here, and the vessel was going so quickly that according to Wallace, they were going 15 or 16 knots. Now, this is a remarkable speed for a schooner. The Bluenose in the Bluenose races, probably 12, 13 knots would have been a good speed. So essentially we're claiming an even faster speed here, at least Wallace is. Not only was the water coming up over the stern, but because it was going so fast, the water was also coming up over the bows, so that the deck was being washed both from the front and the back, with the waves often meeting in the middle. And the sails themselves were so taut because of the wind that Wallace said you could have thrown a sledgehammer against them and they would have bounced off.